Welcome to Know Your Balls Podcast, a podcast about everything sports presented by Tonique Media. I'm Avi Carr-Gloth. Along with me, as always, is my good friend Robbie Williams. Robbie, good to see you. How you doing today, my man?
Good to see you too, Avi. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. We got another great loaded schedule today. We're going to talk a little bit about baseball and AAA season getting delayed a little bit. At least it's happening, though. J.J. Watt, he decided he was going to go somewhere, and I'm not so happy about where he chose. Also, high school basketball players, they might be getting paid soon. That will be a very interesting conversation. I'm excited to hear what Robbie has to say about that. Also, recently, James Harden made his return to the Houston Rockets, where their owner announced that they would be retiring his jersey at the end of his career. Also, an embarrassing moment at the free throw line for a Seton Hall basketball player. Reports coming out from ESPN's Diana Rossini that this NFL offseason will be a, quote, massacre for cuts in player movement. LaMelo Ball, he's balling out for the Charlotte Hornets. And there was an exchange on TNT recently between Candace Parker and Shaquille O'Neal talking about the current state of basketball. So a lot to go over there. We start with baseball. Spring training, Robbie, it is upon us. I am so excited. That means that spring is around the corner. However, for the minor leagues, for AAA, we got news that the season would be delayed a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of expected because they have to, they don't have the option to travel with on like private jets and stuff. They have to use the commercial airlines. So I guess I kind of get it. They have like a different situation, and they're playing with spring training right now, anyways. So yeah, it's definitely I think it's a good move to try and wait until people can get vaccinated. That's good news.
Yeah.
All these vaccines coming out and everything, and hopefully vaccinated players can just, if they get pulled up, they can just enter right away. They don't have to go through like a quarantine period or anything. So yeah, I think it's a decent move.
Yeah, so to clarify, they were going to start the season in April. Now it's being pushed to early May. Last year they had, instead of like AAA baseball, they had an alternative training site basically for these prospects last season. They didn't get any actual game action. And now, baseball, more than most sports, I guess your developmental leagues, which is like the minor leagues, is really essential to building the backbone of your organization. And again, the fact that we're talking about minor league baseball, that means spring is on the way, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the players rejected delaying the start in the major leagues, and I guess that unilaterally affects. It's not like a separate vote with the Players Association. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm not too much of a baseball fan, so it's interesting to see it develop. But
Yeah, for sure. I grew up going to AAA games. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, home of the world famous Toledo Mud Hens, the AAA team of the Detroit Tigers. So I have a lot of fun memories with AAA. So AAA baseball, I'm a fan. Moving on, glad baseball is coming back, but right now the word on the street is the NFL, and of course it is. The NFL is 365 days a year. J.J. Watt was on the market, as you may have heard, and he announced recently that he was going to be signing with the Arizona Cardinals. That kind of came out of left field. Another baseball analogy. He's signing 2 years, $31 million with $23 million guaranteed. He reportedly had more money offered by both my Cleveland Browns, our producer AJ's Indianapolis Colts, and he received a very similar offer from the Tennessee Titans. What was your reaction when you saw that it was Arizona that got J.J. Watt?
I was really surprised, just like you, until I started reading into a little bit more, and his Vance Joseph, his name.
Yeah.
The defensive coordinator. I guess he was a coach for the Texans for 3 years, and his buddy, Jonathan Joseph, Cardinals cornerback. He's there, of course. DeAndre Hopkins. So after I kind of, it made a little bit more sense. Plus, weather's great in Arizona. Old people, they like to, have warm bones. That's what
Yeah.
I've been told from old people. I don't know. JJ Watt's getting kind of old, I guess. Um,
For an NFL player.
yeah, I thought it was interesting that he wanted to keep it such a secret. That tweet where he's like, "Source me." I was like,
Yeah.
"All right," I guess he just doesn't like, rumors and stuff coming out about him and all that. I guess he had his brother's high school friend
Yeah.
buy 4 shirts for him, because he didn't know at first, and he didn't want it
Just
to
in
get out that he
case.
was even considering those 4 teams. Like, he didn't want that to get out. The 4 teams
Right.
he was considering, let alone which one he's picking. So I don't know. He's a cool dude. But I thought that was interesting that he was so secretive about it.
Oh yeah. For me as a Browns fan and wanting this very much so, there was the Peloton scandal, or the Peloton hoax, I guess, where it went viral that JJ Watt put on his Peloton bio, Super Bowl 56, Green Bay, Cleveland, Buffalo, and it was like, whoa, like those are his 3 teams. And then he tweeted out like, guys, that's not me. I don't have a bike. And then later in the day, he announced he was signing with the Cardinals. So it went, for me as a Browns fan, it went from JJ Watt has the Browns on his final 3 to he's signing with the Cardinals. So
Yeah.
that was a big letdown for me. At
Yeah.
least he didn't sign with the Steelers though. That would
True.
have been bad. I would not have liked that. I would have liked that even less. Um, of course. So JJ Watt's going to the Arizona Cardinals. That division is going to be crazy next year. So uh, again, there's a lot more to come still in this offseason, but a big move there. Something that caught my eye, Robbie, and moving to basketball a little bit, this story that came out that there's a short form video company. It's called Overtime. If I'm not mistaken, I think both Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony are investors in it. I might
Really.
be wrong. Yeah, it's like a short. They post basketball highlights and mixtapes on YouTube, and I think they might have it might be their own app. I'm not certain about that, but uh, there's a new basketball league they're starting called Overtime Elite Pro. It's a basketball league that is going to launch in September, and it's going to be for high school players. It's going to compensate high school aged players, and it's going to be basically a professional basketball league, but for 16,
Yeah.
17, 18-year olds. The point is these are people, or these are kids that have hopes of their goal is to take this elite talent away from both high school and collegiate basketball, and in which those are both areas where basketball players are not allowed to be compensated, at least right now. So I mean, look, more and more players, younger and younger, there's more avenues to getting paid for playing basketball, and I think this has a chance to really like change the landscape of the way basketball players elevate from level to level.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I realized that the it goes down to 16 years old. I mean, these kids will be in high school, forfeiting their high school and college eligibility to play in this league. I mean, some of these kids could be making more money than their whole family. At
Yeah,
16, just playing basketball. I mean, I thought that was pretty. 16. That's a
yeah,
really young age for somebody to start making that kind of money, and um just devoting that kind of time to something. That really shocked me. I was wondering, is it going to be a problem with people kind of like, I don't know, like pushing their kids into it because your kid's going to start making $100,000 a year, while he's still a minor. um
yeah.
like,
Straight up.
seriously, I mean, you kind of have to think about that. I mean, uh, uh, I thought it was
Before they
interesting. I'm
before they
sorry.
can even vote, they're making six-figure salaries potentially. So
Yeah.
you hit it right on the head, and I think that it's kind of been heading this way for a while with the NBA and their G League and the way that they're creating their own program of elite college level talent that for players who aren't going to the NCAA, but they're instead getting paid and they're playing against professional type players. And now that's coming all the way down to high school. And I read a little bit about it. There's going to be some benefits. Obviously, they're going to have some health care. There's going if these high school players play, I guess, professionally in high school and decide not to go pro, they can get a scholarship that would let them go to college. They could still go to college after playing high school. They just couldn't play college sports. So I
Yeah.
think that's very interesting. I think this is like if this ends up becoming a staple, like we're going to see a lot of high school players like making that jump, and I think this is going to put even more pressure on the NBA to revert back to the rule that would allow players to go right from high school to the NBA.
Yeah, I thought it was also interesting that it's not just in the United States, they accept talent from anywhere, and
Yeah.
they're not just playing within the league. I don't understand how that works. You're going to create a basketball league. And I guess they're going to play against like prep schools, um, and other
Mhm.
sort of teams outside of the league, which I don't know. I guess that would be like tournaments and stuff, separate from like the league season.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. Um, and I guess there's only 30 players in the whole league. That's what I read.
Yeah, I
So
can see
it's
them
like,
expanding though. Like the things hope in theory, like this is going to expand. I truly believe that if this becomes a success, then it's going to get even bigger. If this becomes like a norm, I can just imagine like just being from a random hometown, right? And it's like, oh, that guy who lives in my neighborhood, he's good enough. He's playing professionally. He's in high school. Like that's going to be a normal thing now that I think you're going to start to see across the country if this like if it really expands. And we're only a little bit, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Um, like we're gonna start seeing potentially 13 and 14-year-olds getting recruited like you
to the
know
league, yeah, to
to the
this league.
league. Yeah, 13 or 14-year-olds being told you could go to the NBA one day, come play here. Like so I mean, I already know college does a lot of like really young recruiting and stuff like that, but this might just take it up a whole nother notch that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Do you think this puts like extra pressure on colleges to start, on the NCAA to start paying players? Maybe even if they don't pay them for like games, like paying them for like their likeness and like selling posters or jerseys or something like that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like any avenue that's not theirs is a threat to them. Like
Yeah.
any like the way that the NBA is now allowing like Jalen Green, for example, is one of the top prospects for this upcoming draft class. He could be a top 3, top 5 pick, and he's not. I think he was going to go to college. Um, I think that's his name, Jalen Green. I might be wrong, but like he was committed somewhere and then he decommitted, and now that school doesn't have that player anymore. Like now, like why in the world would a top high school player in the country who can make a meaningful amount of money, especially at that age, they could play professionally against other elite high school players. Like these are going to be games that scouts are going to be watching. Like if you're a scout, you're going to have to watch that game.
Yeah.
They could, and then in theory they could go right from that to the NBA. Assuming that rule changes in the next couple of years. Yeah, in a word, yes, this is definitely pressure. I mean, we've kind of already been heading that way, anyways, with college sports. But yeah, 100%. This is something that's going to threaten the NCAA if it gets to the point where you and I think it could get.
Yeah, that's definitely the key. Like if it, if you can't get this to be pop, I mean, because you already have like a committed fan base to the NCAA, you're gonna have to,
Yeah.
spread the word and get people interested in watching, you know, 16s and 16, 18-year-olds play. Um, so, I would like to say it would put pressure on them, but like I don't know. When I really think about it, like I just don't know if they're really if that many people are really gonna watch it. If people are gonna, because if you're already an NCAA fan and an NBA fan, you only have so much time in a day, in a week to watch, so many sporting events. Are you gonna, give up watching a few NCAA games you were interested in because this new league's out here? You know, um, there's just a lot of competition, especially with the G League. Um, it could work, it definitely could work, but I'm not gonna say either. I don't really know. I can't really say for sure, but I don't know if it's gonna take off super quick. But if it does, I think you'll end up seeing the NCAA trying to like squash it, and start paying their players. And
Maybe. You raise a good point there. I think one of the ways, again, like I think like a template of this is kind of like the way that the NBA and the NBA G League are doing things with their own version of college age. They have games on ESPN and ESPN2, whatever. So like that is a substantial platform that people watch. People, I know their ratings aren't as good as they used to be, but people still watch ESPN and ESPN2 and the ESPN networks. Um, Over time, I'm not, I'm not well versed in how popular they are, but that is a platform that people tune into. You mentioned all these other, forums of basketball, the G League and the NCAA and the NBA. Like, if you're a basketball fan, if you truly love basketball, you'll watch basketball. It doesn't matter how old they are, especially if they're quote unquote professionals at even if it's 16 to 18-year-olds playing playing other high schoolers. But you do raise a good point. There's so much basketball, I guess, for the consumer to have. It's not a guarantee for success, but again, I think since they're not the first ones to do it, there are good things and bad things from other areas that they can copy and use to their advantage.
now, are these games? I didn't check. Are they going to be aired on their platform, or are they going to be put on other networks of some kind?
I also I didn't know that. I don't know the answer to that. I would
I think that's kind
assume,
of a
yeah.
real, like, to get people to know it's out there, to click on it, and to consistently watch it. I feel like if it's on their platform, depending on how exactly, I haven't heard of them before this, and I'm a basketball fan.
Mhm.
That's the sport I played most of my life. Um,
I
so
mean,
that's just where I'm coming from. It's like I haven't heard of you, and now you're making this league, and I could see it like working, but I don't know if it's going to get really popular just because of the niche aspect of it.
they have celebrity backers. They have NBA players that are investing. I think they have platforms where they can get it out there. I don't think publicity is going to be their biggest issue. I really don't. Just because I think that the platform itself, it does it. I've heard of it. They have YouTube videos. They have mixtapes. They have all that. They have NBA players backing it. Um, I think, I guess their biggest issue is like consistently like having the players. Like, I don't. If there's only
Yeah.
so many elite high school players, some of them are going to want to go to the NCAA, like at least for a season, and that would make them ineligible for this league. So we'll see. I think there's I think you made a lot of really good points there. But if it becomes mainstream, we can come back to this and be like, that's it, we were ahead of this. So
It'll be interesting to watch it develop for sure. I think it starts in September, right?
yeah, September. I think like this coming new academic year. So that will be definitely something to keep an eye on. Um, Sticking with basketball, again, James Harden and the Brooklyn Nets. came to Houston recently in Harden's return. He got a nice tribute video. There was an overall mixed reaction from the limited amount of people in the crowd, but mostly cheers and positives based off of just what you could hear watching the game. And the Rockets owner said that when his career's over, the Rockets are going to retire James Harden's number 13. He was with the team, I think, for 8 years. He was an all-star, or at least 8 full seasons, and he was an all-star every year he was there. He won MVP, won a scoring title. He definitely took that franchise to another level. Do you think, based off of the way he exited, that he deserves to have his jersey retired in Houston?
No. If I was a Houston fan, I would be like, good, you don't want to be here? Fine. I don't want to see you. Like
Wow.
8 years. If you don't spend I don't think if you don't spend your whole career somewhere, I feel like that's, I know there's definitely, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's other people who have their jersey retired with multiple teams.
Shaq.
Shaq. Yep. But
LeBron will.
Yeah, of course. But I don't know. I'm a little old school when it comes to that. I appreciate any player who decides, you know what, this is my city, this is where I live, this is my organization, and I'm gonna stick here, through thick and thin. At least, I mean, then you got, like Michael Jordan played on the Bullets for the last little bit of his career there. The Wizards. They weren't the Bullets when he played on them?
No, they changed their name by then.
Oh, okay. But so that's a little different. Like once you get towards the end of your career, but if you're still kind of in the prime of your career and you just up and leave, as a fan in that city, I'm going to be pretty upset about that. And, and also to announce that you're retiring his jersey, like they announced it like a day or two, like before he played in Houston for the first time, right?
Yeah, I think like a day before or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was also a little interesting. I don't know. I'm a salty fan more so than an appreciative fan. Like, oh, thanks for the couple years, No, especially like the way he left, kind of complaining about him and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my own personal view on it.
I disagree. I think he's flat out. He's one of the greatest players that they've ever had. Like, there aren't many players who accomplished what he accomplished with that team. They never got to the finals, granted, but they were legitimately a great team, and they were the number one threat to the Warriors dynasty in the Western Conference. They almost beat them, took them to 7 one year, didn't get it done, but still, I think he deserves it. He's one of their greatest players ever. I'm not super well versed in the history of the Houston Rockets. I know they have.
I can't argue with that. He definitely is one of their best players ever.
Yeah, and he cared when he was there. I mean, until the very end. I don't think like he was there for 8 years before he had that exit. I think also for organizational purposes, the Houston Rockets, they want to be known, and every organization should want to be known as an organization that treats their great players as they should. And I don't know if you've been listening to what's going on in Minnesota with Kevin Garnett and how he has a bad relationship with the team's owner and how they still haven't retired his jersey. Kevin Garnett, one of the greatest players ever, he won a couple MVPs, I think, with Minnesota. His jersey still hasn't been retired there because of the sour relationship with owner Glenn Taylor and Kevin Garnett. Something that you should read up on. It's a fascinating read. That's a whole nother story.
Is it because he went to Boston? Is that the whole thing?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with verbal commitments to maybe being a part of an ownership group in the future. But regardless, that's not the point. The point is Minnesota doesn't have a good reputation right now of treating their all-time greats properly. Houston is almost in a way we have to make sure that the great players want to be here, because if a great player one day, maybe it's not in the next year or so, maybe if it's 5, 6, 7 years, it's oh, I didn't like what they did with James Harden. I don't want to go there. If I give it my all and everything and they decide not to retire my number, that would, I wouldn't want that. So I see where you're coming from. I would be very interested to hear what a Rockets fan feels like. But I think this is the right move. I think this is what you do and this is what you do to honor one of the greatest players to ever wear a Rockets uniform. So
Yeah, I guess I get that too. Like you're trying to repair the relationship with with one of your great players, because obviously they upset him before he departed. So I can see that perspective too. From the organization's perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Just as a fan, though, I would be upset personally.
fair points all around. Uh, just a quick we want to take a quick sec right now to again thank TellABQ, airing Airport Road podcast. Our friends AJ and Kate doing a great job with that, and Aaron, know your balls. A big shout out and thank you to TellABQ. ABQ standing for Albuquerque, I guess. You ever been to Albuquerque, Robbie?
No, never been to New Mexico. I drove through like the corner of Arizona one time, but that's the most I've been in the Southwest. I kind of went up and around them when I went on a road trip one time, so I feel bad
I
now.
feel. I've also never been to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I know they had Breaking Bad in New Mexico. And that's
I always
that's
think of
about
Bugs
it.
Bunny. Took a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
That's a deep cut. I like that a lot. Um, moving on. Still staying on basketball. Just a quick little tidbit. This video going viral.
On the body. I ain't never missing. Oh, his first miss of the year. Right after he said to somebody, I ain't never missing. He should have. Well, mistake he made too is he.
Seton Hall. I don't even remember who they're playing. One of their players, at the free throw line. I guess he hadn't missed all season, and now they're in the conference tournaments. And as he was shooting it, he said, I'm never gonna miss. And then he missed badly.
Yeah,
not a great.
You don't jinx yourself like that, man. You just don't. If something's going good, it's like when a pitcher is throwing a no-hitter. You don't talk to the guy. You don't bother him. You leave him alone. You keep him in his zen state. The second you think the word miss, the second that even, comes, if somebody was like, "Oh, miss, can I blah blah blah?" No, that the second you hear that, it's gonna be in your head and you're gonna miss. That's just
That's just
the way it works.
out for
Yeah,
no
like
reason.
you can't. When I saw that, I was like, you messed yourself up. I mean, and someone must have been talking crap to him at the line for him to say that, I guess. But, you can't let people, get in your head while you're shooting a free throw. Just zen out, focus on the back of the rim, and do it.
Free
That
throw
was funny, though.
Free throw shooting with Robbie Williams. It's plain and simple. Don't psych yourself out. Don't say the word miss. Good advice for everyone out there. Moving on to football now. Back to football. We alluded to it a little bit earlier when we were talking about J.J. Watt. But there's going to be a lot of movement in the NFL this offseason. The NFL still hasn't officially set their cap, which is how much money teams can spend in the offseason. And I think part of that is why there's going to be so much movement. A tweet that was getting a lot of traction from ESPN's great NFL reporter, Diana Rossini. She tweeted, just texted with an NFL head coach about the upcoming cuts and what he expects. Quote, it's going to be a massacre next week all around the league. And that was that tweet was from March 3rd. So look, we started to see it a little bit. Minnesota cut their tight end, longtime tight end Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Van Noy, linebacker, he was cut by the Dolphins. The Saints cut a couple of tight ends. There's going to be a lot of movement. I think the Lions said that they were going to be cutting Desmond Trufant. You're already starting to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, it's already been a super interesting offseason with all the trades and everything. So, do they know when they're supposed to announce the cap?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody has a date. I think
that's crazy.
I think NFL GMs know just as much as you and me when it comes to that. Some people think it'll be 180 million. Some people think it'll be 185 million. That's a significant difference. I know NFL teams are raking in tens of millions and billions of dollars. But $5 million to spend on players, that's a big difference. So I don't
I
believe
just
there's
feel
an
like,
exact
that'll
date.
play a huge role in deciding, who you cut and who you don't, how big the massacre is. I think that the only thing I will say about that tweet is I don't like when people use that kind of hyperbole. Yeah, it's a massacre. There's gonna be blood everywhere. Like, no, you're just cutting people from a football team. It's a good headline. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
But
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
but it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. Sometimes you see people. If somebody says something bad about somebody else, and they say he slammed him for this, and I'm like,
Right.
slammed? That's a little
Right.
heavy there. But no, it'll be exciting to see how things play out with that, with them figuring out what their cap space is, and cutting players and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens this time of year every year, but with the financial uncertainty that the league has, um, there might be some names moved that people didn't expect. Obviously, there's also that big quarterback carousel that we've already seen so far. Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, that trade. Carson Wentz getting traded. Washington today, I believe they cut Alex Smith.
Really? Oh,
So
I didn't see it.
yeah, they saved like $15 million in cap space.
Makes sense.
And the Jets, I think there's a good chance they trade Sam Darnold. And again, with the Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play in Houston ever again. There's still rumors about Russell Wilson in Seattle. Dak Prescott still doesn't have a long-term contract with the Cowboys. And that's just the quarterbacks. There's so many other important players, especially on defense. I'm really interested to see which are the teams that are like benefiting the most from these cap casualties. Like somebody's going to pick up a player for cheaper than they should because of just other teams not being able to afford them. And I think whoever's able to get that done, like thread the needle, those are the ones when you look back on this offseason, they'll be like, hey, that was a really good offseason for that team.
Yeah, definitely.
So NFL action, we got a lot of that coming up, and I assume by the next podcast we'll have another wave of big NFL moves to discuss. So looking forward to that and talking to you about that, Robbie. Back to the NBA for the last couple of topics, and one player that's gotten a lot of attention that has showed up on my phone with alerts because of course he has LaMelo Ball on the Charlotte Hornets, and obviously basketball fans are familiar with his brother Lonzo Ball, who's been in the league for 3 years or so now, and obviously his dad LeVar Ball, being the center of the internet for a time a couple of years ago, or at least a few years ago. It's been a while since then, but when you cut to the chase, Robbie, LaMelo Ball can ball. Like he can play,
Yeah.
and he's put up great numbers, and he's captured eyeballs everywhere.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see him, playing as good as his dad said he was going to play. Because I honestly, when that was all happening, those years ago, like I never thought, either of them were going to go anywhere, just because this guy just seemed so ridiculous to me. Never lost.
Right.
Like he's just not, just getting views out here, and no, he really can play. Like it's fun to watch him play for sure. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if his dad came and started getting a little bit more talkative now that everybody's starting to talk about him more. Just be
Especially,
like, told you so.
Especially if he wins Rookie of the Year, and he
Yeah.
wasn't the first pick. Minnesota had the first pick. They took Anthony Edwards. Golden State had the second pick. They took James Wiseman, and then Charlotte ended up with Ball at 3. I mean, that could be a big deal, in the years to come. We're going to be looking back at that draft. We might be saying, how did LaMelo Ball fall to 3? And I would say he's definitely the front runner for Rookie of the Year. He just averaged 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 6.5 assists per game in the month of February. He won Rookie of the Month in February. But he can do like a little bit of everything, and he's had some of these passes. He's thrown alley-oops to Miles Bridges. This is like easily he's the most exciting player the Hornets have had easily. I guess in the last decade, I guess with the exception of Kemba Walker, but I mean even then LaMelo Ball has so much hype and other stuff about him that is just like so much fun to watch. Say what you want about him and his dad, but he's just an objectively fun player to watch, and he's making the Hornets better.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like he's definitely not like, and he's not as bombastic as his dad. So it's definitely nice to see
nobody
him.
Is.
Yeah, true. It's hard to. I remember watching him and Stephen A. Smith go head to head. I remember I actually watched it just a couple weeks ago because I saw LaMelo Ball on a highlight or something, and I was like, I wonder what happened to his dad. And I started watching those videos again, and he went toe to toe with Stephen Smith. Yeah, and I got back into all those videos, and I can't remember who the other announcer was on that First Take, but
Max Kellerman.
The lady in the middle.
Oh, Molly Karam. Oh, yeah.
And she said, Stephen A., I think you met your match.
Right.
This guy's so off the wall. But it's nice to see that didn't like get in LaMelo Ball's head or, kind of make people, that kind of stuff can kind of mess up the mental game a lot.
Yeah. Well, he's I never thought that there would be a player to excite people about the Charlotte Hornets as much as I did with LaMelo Ball. One final thing before we sign off. On a TNT broadcast on Tuesday, they have their regular Inside the NBA crew on Turner, but they change it up for Tuesdays. They got Dwayne Wade on there. They got Candace Parker, and they still have Shaq there. Adam Lefkoe is the one that's directing things instead of Ernie Johnson usually. Inside the NBA, it's fantastic. But there was a conversation that was making a lot of waves in the basketball world. Candace Parker, who is an all-time great in the WNBA. She won WNBA championship in 2016, winning Finals MVP. She's a 2-time WNBA MVP, 5-time All-Star. They were arguing and talking about the technique of the modern pick and roll. A lot of switching now happening in the NBA, and Shaq said, what happened to man-to-man? And now it's like, well, she was pointing out that everyone can shoot threes now.
I think you switch at the point of pick and roll, but I do think that Jokic, like the NBA switches now, right? Mm-hmm. So
why? Whatever happened?
Because everybody can shoot threes.
Whatever happened to man up?
Because you're going to be manning up trying to recover back to your man, and they're going to hit a three just like Jokic did.
Well, but whatever happened to pre-rotating and
then they move the ball around. And
you got 4 to 5 3-point shooters on the court. You ain't going to rotate enough time.
Not rotating. Not rotating.
Yeah, but you got to take the easy pass away. Like, if you ain't going to switch, you got to take the easy pass.
So that's what I'm saying.
But now you have guys that can throw the ball from one side of the court and find the guy in rhythm.
Okay.
But that easy 1-5 pick and roll, the big is so far back like Shaq used to be all the time.
And we won the championship.
But here you go. Just throwing a shot at you, big fella. I love you.
No, but then we won the championship.
We did.
Thank you.
Because you started getting up on the screen. But
what did you make of that?
I thought it was a very awkward, tense exchange for a second there. And I don't know. I don't think Shaq has a very slow, deep way of speaking that can almost make him sound a little bit more serious than he is sometimes. I don't know, sometimes him and Charles Barkley are going back and forth, and it seems like it's getting a little, but it always stays lighthearted. But I get what she's saying with all the 3-point shooters. I think if you got a pick and roll going on with a 3-point shooter, you have to switch and cover the 3 for sure. But I think it's always the switch or pushing through a pick is always like a split second in the moment decision that I think definitely it weighs heavily upon like who are the two people involved. Like if somebody's not a great 3-point shooter, I'd give up the 3 to him, and work my way around the pick and put a hand in their face at the last second versus, getting into some type of a mismatch. So, I remember when we played basketball, it was just all about, your gut feeling in the moment and just communication with your teammates. Whenever I played basketball, I never had a coach tell me that we're always going to switch or we're always going to push through, maybe some people do that, but I know it's different. I'm not playing in the NBA, but like, I think it's ridiculous to say you should always switch in every situation, because I'm sure there's a couple situations where, generally speaking, I agree with her. Most people can drain threes now. It's not like you only have one person, who's shooting threes.
This is most people in the NBA. Like these are like these are the best basketball players in the world. The NBA, like.
I feel you, but some people are worse at shooting threes than others. Some people really can't shoot them. But I agree with you. 90% of these guys can. It's no problem for them. So, most of the time, you're gonna switch so that you don't, give away an easy shot. But also, I always agree with the the method of forcing people to take the tougher shots, and I'd rather give up a 3 than So I get what she's saying, 110%. And I think Shaq was just trying to play devil's advocate, and it kind of got taken out of blown out of proportion a little bit. But my personal thing is that it depends on the situation more than anything. Yeah,
and look, these are two of the greatest basketball players to ever lace them up. So what they say and when they talk about basketball, people listen, and that's what makes their camaraderie and their conversations, that the raw conversations, so meaningful, and that's why people care about it so much, and their words truly have weight behind it. So I find that to be very interesting, and I think the fact that so many people have such strong opinions about their conversations means that their words are having an impact on the conversation about basketball as a sport. So I think that's a really, I think that's a good thing. I think that is a good thing. So that will about do it for us. Again, thank you so much to TellABQ and the good folks in Albuquerque for airing our stuff, and we appreciate them and thank them. Remember to the drill. Follow Tonique on all of our socials. Check us out on YouTube. If you're not watching it on YouTube already, thank you for listening. Please do not forget to check out the website. Of course, latonique.news. Robbie, I'll give you one final word and then we'll sign off.
I didn't take a sip the whole time. I didn't showcase the watermelon cup. So
the watermelon cup.
To the watermelon cup.
To the watermelon cup. Thank you. It
looks like bourbon, but it's apple juice.
Oh. Okay. I was mistaken there for a second.
My bad.
Thank you so much for listening to Know Your Balls podcast, and we'll see you next time.